Hey there, I'm Steve, and welcome to Jamsin Entertainment. And welcome to the conversation. Just before we get started, there are many ways you can help. You can like and subscribe so you never miss a conversation. But most importantly, please share this video. Get the word out there as a community. We can talk about all the things that we love. I recently saw Dune, Part 1, and thank God it's Part 1. I was really worried that they're going to do what David Lynch did back in the 80s and just cram all of the first book of Dune into one movie. It didn't work out then, and thankfully, I can never pronounce the director's name, unfortunately, so I'll just put it up. The director did a very, very good job with this movie. Kinda was worried in the beginning for like the first 10, maybe 20 minutes. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Dune, in the book, they're not on Caladan as long as they are in the movie. I think they were on Caladan for a little longer than in the book, simply so you can get to know the characters better, and it does work out that way. Because after they reach Arrakis, Dune, it really just takes off and does a good job of staying to the book. I did notice the changes that they put in there. The changes were good ones. They weren't like huge, like, what are you doing changes. These made sense. I really enjoyed it. I'll go over some of the changes as I go through the plot. This book revolves around the Atreides family. Duke Leto is the head, then his lady Jessica, and his son Paul. You have the man-at-arms Gurney Halleck, the swordmaster Duncan Idaho, and then you have the Mentat Thufir Hawat. A Mentat is a human calculator. That's the simplest way to describe it. They, like most everyone else through this system in the galaxy, use what's called the spice melange, which I personally think that it's supposed to be an allegory for DMT. I can't remember the medical term for that. For those of you who watch Joe Rogan, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Although I've heard that the spice is supposed to be mushrooms. Either way, the spice is a psychedelic substance that expands human consciousness. It allows mentats to make calculations far faster and far larger than human brains can possibly do in seconds. We're talking calculations that can take up 5 blackboards. A mentat can do like that. Other types of characters and factions in here, you have the Space Guild. They're navigators. So in the world of Dune, world building I mean, computers are no more advanced than a simple calculator. That's it. And it explains it in the book, and there's a whole prequel series to the Dune series written by Frank Herbert's son, that there was a war between man and machines, and man ultimately won, and to prevent that from happening again, technology could never be that advanced. So they discovered the spice on Arrakis and what it can do for humans. And that's how space travel is still possible. The navigators more or less live in the spice. And the way it was portrayed in the original movie and in the miniseries is just, it's hilarious. But the way they do it here is really cool. So if you don't know what the navigators look like in this Dune movie, it's the guys with this helmet, and the helmet's orange. It's not tinted orange. That's the spice. They are living in the spice. They're breathing it so they can make these huge calculations across space and time. Then you have the Bene Jesuit. It's a sisterhood where they can control every aspect of their body, so much so that they can decide to give birth to a girl or a boy. Their faction mostly gives birth to women so they can keep the faction going, but they ultimately want to create what's called the Kwisatz Haderach. And part of the plot for Dune is Jessica loves her Duke. Even though it was an arranged marriage, she genuinely loves Leto. Because she loves him, she gives him a son, going against the Bene Gesserit's orders. And before they leave Caladan, Paul faces the Gum Jabba, and that's a test. Paul puts his hand inside of this box, and he's supposed to leave it there. He asks her, what's in the box? And she says, pain. And she puts this needle right up to his neck. She said, if you remove your hand from this box, I will prick you with this needle and you'll be instantly dead. And so he goes through all the emotions, panic, fear, anger, all of them, till he gets to a calm. And she still watches him, and then she tells him, okay, you're good. It's to test whether or not he's human. It says so in the book, and they reiterate it here. An animal will bite off its paw in order to free itself. And this test is to see if Paul will yank his hand away from whatever's happening in that box, and he doesn't. He passes the test. So the government system in this series is an empire, and the emperor, by by decree, has told the Atreides to go to Arrakis and manage the planet to make sure that the spice flows. That's an ongoing thing in the book. The spice must flow, or else nothing happens. Nothing. No spice, no civilization, basically, or at least no interstellar travel. However, there's a family already on Arrakis, the Harkonnens, and the Emperor is taken the privilege of ruling Arrakis away from the Harkonnens because they become too powerful with money and influence. And so, that's kind of like the one part of Dune that doesn't make sense. If the spice is such a commodity where if you don't have control over it, you're kind of at the whims of whoever is, why wouldn't the Emperor be in charge of Arrakis then? I don't know. I've read the other few books, but it hasn't really gone into that explanation. So with the Harkonnens being taken away from Arrakis, you can see where there will be a conflict here. I'm kind of going to leave it there. I've already given you a ton of information, mostly about the world. I don't want to give any more than that because this movie is amazing. So aside from the plot and this movie just being told wonderfully, the soundtrack is also amazing. I saw Hans Zimmer grace the screen in the end credits. I don't know if he actually composed and conducted the music because I've seen recently that he's like worked with other composers, but the music is amazing. The sets are amazing. I put it in air quotes because it's probably mostly CGI. The costumes are amazing. It's just everything about this is amazing. This was very, very well done. It was worth the wait, even though I wish I saw it last year, but COVID prevented anyone from seeing it except for the people who obviously made it. It was worth the wait, and I'm really, really, really looking forward to Dune Part 2 and 3. I hope they come out like one after another. I mean, I know it's a lot to film all the movies at once, but hey, Peter Jackson did it for 2 franchises. No pressure. Those are my thoughts on Dune. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and what's your history of Dune? I won't go into mine because I'd like to get on a podcast and talk about it. I do have a friend. We're going to see if we can get our schedules matched up together. Hopefully he'll see Dune by then, and because he's a huge Dune nerd too. We'll get on the podcast and we'll talk about it. We'll have a good time. If you like what you saw, like it. If you think other people like it, share it. If you really liked it, hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching and live your imagination.